Hello.
We're good. We're good. How are
I'm
you?
look I'm good, thank you. I'm looking at two men that are systematically ruining my childhood stories one one by one, Good. turning them into incredible nightmares. Look, first and foremost, job well done. I really enjoyed the movie. Joss, your performance is fantastic. You actually make Rumpelstiltskin a sympathetic figure, which I wasn't expecting. Thank you very much. I was really happy to kind of know that it kind of has that effect on people. Yeah, I think when Andy first came to me and we started going through the script, it was quite important because he's quite a kind of fluctuating character anyway, and it is kind of he's trying to the importance to try and pull on the heartstrings to see if I can really drag people in, just because he is a human being. He has got his own worries and Yeah. worries at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, like, essentially, he is trying to help. He's trying to
Yeah.
look. He's trying to benefit himself, like we all are. I mean, that's what I love most about the film. One of the aspects I love most about the film is that it's almost like this domino effect of, Evalina is trying to get something, Rumpelstiltskin's trying to get something, the king is trying to get something, Everyone's trying to get something.
Yeah, I
and
mean, that was something
oh,
that
sorry.
we kind of had to put into the script because the original Brothers Grimm story, which we followed quite closely, but it just tells you the characters just do things because it's a really short story. The characters just do things. They just say this and they just do this. So we had to kind of work out why these characters would do the things that they do to lead you through the story and give a motive and a motivation to every character, to the king, to Evalina, to Rumpelstiltskin.
Andy, I honestly have to commend you because people will be familiar with the story somewhat. They're familiar with Grimm's fairy tales. Most of the time, we're just familiar with the fact that someone gets their comeuppance. There's like a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
But you take this story that, we have a rough understanding of, you really flesh it out. I think your superpower, honestly, you're an incredibly gifted screenwriter. I was blown away by the script, the relationships that you create. Each and every one of them are fully fleshed out. And even though we're talking about a horror movie based off of a fairy tale,
Yeah.
but you create this world, and it really works. So I
Oh,
I I did want to
thank you.
commend you.
Thank you. And yeah, like I said, it was just trying to flesh out that story so each of the characters you understood what they were doing, what they were trying to get, and to feel like, believable-ish people in a fairy tale world, so that you would follow the story, even if you kind of know where, roughly what's going to happen because we follow the beats of the Brothers Grimm story. But yeah, just kind of put in all of the extra flavor on it and then working with the actors, to come up with the characters that are going to be interesting. Because with Rumpelstiltskin, he's not just a villainous monster who pops up at the end. And just he could just be a monster that tries to eat a baby. He's in it a lot. He's got a lot of dialogue. He's, just the character with the second most dialogue. So he has to be a real character with an arc and some ups and some downs, which obviously Joss delivers
I think what
under
I
all that makeup.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that, Josh. I have to ask
Right.
ask you about that in a moment, but I just want to stay on the script for one more moment. The you you take an antiquated story and you make it very real for today. People are just trying to get laid. They're just trying to put food on the table. The government's coming in and they're up their ass and they're like, oh, this guy again. And it makes it very much a 2025 film. And I got a real kick out of that you bridge this centuries long gap from the past to the present, and it really made it feel very much a today film. And I think that I wasn't expecting it, and it was one of the biggest surprises that I got, that these people are very much a today character.
Yeah, you should hopefully be able to relate to what all of them are trying to get. And I don't think times have changed too much. There's still rich people living up here, and there's still the rest of us living on our little hovels.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
that's not changed too much.
I think look, forgive me. I've watched Punch, I've watched Cinderella's Revenge. I'll get to the fairy tale aspect, which it seems like, you're carving out an Andy Edwards film now is fairy tale-esque, and I'm curious to see what you have in the future. But Joss, I've got to ask you, the actors in this in the film are phenomenal. Every single one of them really came to play.
Yeah.
But I've got to ask you about the practical makeup and what it's like applying that, and how long did it take, and how long did you have to practice to emote through it, because you do a phenomenal job.
So I think the first off, Andy had contacted a prosthetics artist called Dan Martin, who he'd worked with before, and Dan had recommended me for this role anyway. So Dan was in the process of designing Rumpelstiltskin and the practical effects, and then he got through for another job. So he then passed it on to a friend of mine, a friend of Dan's called Will Harvey from Monster Effects.
Ah.
Will's been a good collaborator of mine for a long time, and we've got a good team of people around us. So it was that working together behind the scenes, late at night, speaking about different things. It was really great to have the kind of input and the connection so close to hand. Because otherwise, it was the fear of not knowing or not feeling that you can talk to somebody about it properly, or overstepping the mark to see how they would kind of take your kind of back and forth about what he may look like, or what Curry might be. And I think Andy had a lot to kind of play with those ideas as well. So yeah, I think 7 days in total consecutively.
Okay.
4 hours a day to get into it. There was the one scene where he's dancing around the fire and he's almost naked. That was 6 hours because we wanted to get I've got lots of tattoos, so I had to cover the tattoos up.
Had to cover all that.
And then a working day. Thankfully, Andy was able to kind of work it in the shooting schedule, so I wasn't kind of coming in 4 hours earlier than everybody else, because that's always been a pain, and that's always been the joys of prosthetics work in the past, where you're in there 4 to 6 hours before everybody else, and then you've got to do a full day, then wrap up 2 hours. And then probably about because of the nature of what the Pax paint that we use on my body, it's a mixture of Pros-Aid and acrylic paint. It doesn't come off with sweat, so we had to scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub in the bath. And then there was one day that I think we all lost a bit of our minds, and Will had to join me, getting me in the bath and scrub the back of me. Yeah, it's one of those kind of punch drunk hazy dreams where you just be like, okay, we're going to this scene, our place. But yeah, it was fantastic. Obviously, you never really know how it's going to feel unless you've got it, until you put it on and you put the teeth in, put the contacts in, put the costume on, and bring it all together. So it's only until then really where you can really find the expression and to know how to work it.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a very physical performance. I guess it's good that it doesn't come off with sweat, because you're jumping all over the place.
It does as well. Yeah, we had to be very careful of that. I could be a very sweaty man at times, especially dancing around a fire. So and also with the in the coldness of the English March forests, in around midnight, and then all the hot water and the condensation and the breath coming off the lips, it would there were parts, and I was worried that would just come through with the speech as well, with you could hear the prosthetics, but it doesn't as well. So it's just these little things that can just what's the like a Princess and the Pea when she's got the pea under the bed.
Yeah,
little things can just on top of each other, but thankfully they didn't.
No, you absolutely nailed it. I know it's only April now, but one of my favorite performances of the year so far. You really did a phenomenal job. Like I said, as does everything in the film.
Thank you.
Andy, where was the film shot?
It was mainly shot in the south of England. So there's one set that's a set build, but everything else is genuinely like 500 years old, where we shot. So we shot in an old church in Winchester. We shot at Anne of Cleves' house. She was one of Henry VIII's wives. So that's the princess, Queen's bedroom scenes are all shot in this genuine historic place. So we couldn't break anything, set anything on fire. We had to be very careful. But that helps obviously when you're doing kind of low budget stuff. Most of the production design is there. You just have to kind of get permission and say that you're going to play nice, and then
It
you
looks
shoot
great.
in the angles.
It looks absolutely great. I understand that because you're working in these real environments that are historical and you have to be very careful. I had a feeling that that was the case because you use very interesting angles. I was really intrigued by some of your shots because you capture some drama and you do things out of the ordinary as opposed to like, okay, you know, we've got two characters here, here's the setup, just have at it. The camera works to propel the story and a lot of the scenes, especially the dungeon scenes. You know, you used a lot of really great angles through the bars to almost, I mean, in some circumstances you were covering things, in other circumstances you were being very playful. And I just wanted to commend you. I thought it was
Oh,
very, very well
thank you.
done.
I mean, that's yeah, down to me working with the cinematographer Dom. So we had a bunch of kind of influences that we looked at in terms of, sort of the color of the film and the look of the film, and then shot composition. So yeah, he came to me with Dom came to me with a lot of sort of influences of kind of European-y art house stuff from like the 70s and stuff. So we've got some zooms in there, some kind of odd compositions with where the characters are framed, just to kind of mix it up a bit, make it a bit spooky, but we wanted it to have that kind of European folklore kind of vibe. Because we shot in England, but obviously it's a German folktale originally.
Mhm.
And it's not set in any particular real world place. It's set in, fantasy world, medieval fantasy world. So we just kind of wanted it to have that little sort of European flavor to it.
Where did you find Hannah? Her interactions with damn near everyone in this film are incredible. She's phenomenal in this film.
Well, yeah, she came through the audition process. I'd actually met her briefly at a screening for another film that she was in. She'd got my contact details, and I think she'd applied but not got through the first round for some reason. And then she just messaged me and said, like, please, can I just send you an audition tape anyway? And I was like, okay. And then she sent it me. I was like, oh, she's good.
Yeah.
And then we brought her in. Um, we'd already got Joss cast, and we were working with him on the creatures. So we got a bunch of different actresses to read with Joss, and Joss did his Rumpelstiltskin thing, and so we saw what the chemistry was like really, because it's just the two of them on screen for quite a lot. So you want to see how they interact, and yeah, she just you know smashed it in the audition, and then yeah, we did a few rehearsals as well. And I know that outside of, sort of official filming times and official rehearsal times, I know Joss and Hannah spoke quite a bit together, to try and get those scenes done and to feel comfortable with each other, really.
Yeah. Joss, your chemistry with Hannah is great. I mean, it really, it's the film right there.
Yeah, I mean, there was something really important to me, like going back and saying about not knowing who you're working with in these productions, and there was a lot of independent kind of research, independent rehearsals myself. It was one thing that was really, really important to me is to kind of bring myself and Hannah together, or other people in the cast together, just to break that ice, really, and just to have someone to kind of come back and forth to. And we ended up, I think we had a few studio sessions in my place. And then we were basically just recorded the different scenes on voice notes, and then basically sent our bits and to each other, and then I basically compiled them into some online stuff. So we just had the visual the audio kind of back and forth as well. But yeah, I think for me it was really important to have that connection and that chemistry. Because I'm rocking up in a goblin, a horrific fucking imp face, to people that potentially wouldn't know who I am or what I look like, which happens a lot anyway. I can be working with someone for days on end, and then it's not until the last day they actually see me in the
Like, hi, it's me. Yeah.
um and yeah, especially working with horror kind of genre, and to play with the meticulous kind of strangeness and the coercion and the fantasy, and for her to trust being naked in front of me and kissing me and all these kind of things. I had to just make sure that we had something solid ground together.
And yeah, and I
Understood.
know that you did something similar with Dexter, who
Yes.
plays the young child in there, and Joss made sure to speak to him without the makeup on before, so that they had a good rapport
Yeah,
and
he came and see
was
me with
friendly
the
beforehand.
and then yeah, we were best of friends afterwards.
Oh, that's cute. That's
Yeah,
adorable.
because
Yeah,
you don't want to, this kid, was he 7 or 8, and
Um,
Joss turns up in his goblin mask. You could really kind of terrify someone. So yeah,
Josh,
make
you'd be
sure that he,
responsible for his therapy for the next 30
yeah.
yeah,
years, you know?
yeah,
So now we have Cinderella's Revenge. We have Rumpelstiltskin. I really do feel like, Andy, this is the tipping point now. You may become known as the fairy tale man going forward, and I have
I
no
mean,
problem with that.
no, I mean, there's people who've done more. I mean, I know the guys who did the Winnie the Pooh films, and I think they're even more prolific than I am. In this kind of new subgenre that's taking off at the moment. Um, but what the thing that I learned, I think, from Cinderella's Revenge was how much fun period films are. They're they're hard to do it on an independent, low film budget. It's very hard, which is why a lot of people don't attempt them. But when you're there making a contemporary film and you're just shooting in somebody's flat and everybody's wearing contemporary clothes, it's fun, but it's not like when you're on set and like horses come past and
Yeah.
knights in armor come past, then you're like, oh, we're making a real film here.
Yeah.
It just feels so much bigger when you're just, creating this make-believe world and you've got people in their costumes coming by and yeah, they've got swords and people are going, oh, should we have this sword or this armor? And yeah. So
It's
yeah,
got
I
to be
love it. It's
incredibly
difficult,
immersive.
but
Yeah.
I do love it.
So now, what are you two doing? What and the cast as well? Tell our viewers how we can support the film, what events you have coming up. How can we help you?
Well, the film is coming out on the 7th of April in the UK, 8th of April in the US, and it will be on all of the TVOD sites. So yeah, check it out, really. And I think all I'd say is if people do like it, it'd be really helpful for us to leave reviews on Amazon, Letterboxd, because we don't have, the marketing budgets that some of these films do. So, when people are deciding what to check out, they will check the Letterboxd scores or IMDb scores or something to see if something's any good. So, yeah, I would just ask, from me and all independent filmmakers, it does make a difference. And yeah, and hope you like it. And talking about what's next, there's talk of a Rumpelstiltskin too.
Hey,
Don't early stages because obviously the Brothers Grimm didn't go there, so we'd very much be off book for that one. But we're thinking about what we could do with it.
oh, I would be very, very excited to see where you could take this
Mm.
story. Spoiler alert, you're going to get a love letter of a review from Macabre Daily because I really did enjoy the film. And we will, we'll do what we can to get the word out there because we do believe in independent cinema and independent horror, especially. So, films like Rumpelstiltskin, I understand that they need as much support as they can, and we're happy to give it.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
You
very
got
much
it. Josh,
appreciated.
I can't wait to see you back in that makeup. Here's to
see
Rumpelstiltskin, too.
where it goes. Thanks, mate.
Great seeing you both today.
Cool.
Bye.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.